Pakistan is on edge as it witnesses the worst political violence in months. The security forces fought overnight battles with supporters of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan.
They earlier stormed into the capital Islamabad to demand his release. At least 6 people have been killed, including 4 paramilitary personnel. Khan's PTI party posted these pictures purportedly showing the crackdown on protesters who are led by his wife. It accused security forces of turning the capital into a war zone and carrying out a full-scale massacre of civilians.
Both sides are doubling down, the government ruling out any negotiations, while Khan told his supporters to fight till the end. The PTI claims authorities have begun burning containers, cars, and public property around the heart of the capital. The unrest is forcing a shutdown of all education institutes in the capital. Here, Mustafa has more from Islamabad.
The streets of Islamabad have turned into a battleground, with tens of thousands of supporters of Imran Khan facing off with soldiers and police teams. Protesters started arriving in Islamabad on Monday evening, breaching the heavy barricades that had been set up by authorities. Videos circulating on social media showed large groups of protesters tearing down shipping containers and even moving them out of their path by force. More protesters are making their way to the heart of Islamabad, home to key government buildings and parliament. It's here Imran Khan's supporters plan to hold an indefinite protest in a place called deadlock or Democracy Square. We saw things take a very dramatic turn here in Islamabad. Police used tear gas shells, rubber bullets, and even live rounds to push protesters back and stop their advance. Hundreds were injured in those clashes, but in many instances, police teams fell back, allowing the protesters to march on, unable to take on their huge numbers. In a bid to quell the unrest, the government has empowered the army to impose curfews in affected areas. The government also says it has offered another venue to Khan's party to hold a demonstration in, but that offer has been rejected. This protest was called by Imran Khan, who has been in jail since August last year. He faces more than 100 corruption charges, which he says are politically motivated and aimed at keeping him out of power. Khan's supporters say they won't go back until their jailed leader walks out of prison. Experts say it's unlikely this deadlock will end anytime soon, and this has left Islamabad on edge. The city has been left paralyzed, with internet services suspended and mobility impacted, and it's unclear how long the standoff will last. Hira, Mustafa, CNA, Islamabad.
For more, we're joined by Syed Mohammad Ali, non-resident scholar at the Middle East Institute. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Ali. Firstly, could you talk to us about what's really driving this deadly clashes? I mean, how much of it is for support for Mr. Khan, and how much is fueled by broader opposition to the military establishment?
Well, all of them are, issues that are interlinked, and this is the vehicle, the platform by which they are being exerted, that kind of broader disgruntlement. But it is the PTI which is spearheading this. It is a call by the PTI, and actually some stuff has happened on the ground in the last few hours. It has been dispersed. It's been cleared up. The Interior Minister was on television saying that Imran Khan's wife has left the scene. She's currently not in detention, nor is the CM of KP, of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the other province. And he's claiming that schools are going to open in a couple of days and internet services are going to be restored. There's been sort of arson and stuff like that. 6 rangers were killed earlier, and that's when the real shelling to disperse this crowd occurred. Some of the PTI leadership also dispersed around that time. It's just happened over the past few hours, subsequent to what had been happening earlier in the day. So that's the current situation.
Right. I mean, is it the end of this, if you like, rally and demonstration, if you like, though? Because We know that the army invoked, or the government invoked Article 245, called in the army. Both sides have taken very hardline positions. How do you see it ending?
Well, early reports suggest that it was the Rangers and the police that did the heavy shelling. There was very heavy gas shelling to disperse the crowds. The military apparently was not brought into play, and there are not any reports of civilian casualties as yet. And it's still too early to say whether we will see, the broader crowds. A lot of them had come from the KP, where the PTI is in charge of government. So that that whole corridor is still there. So whether, what the establishment, the next moves, they seemed quite sort of adamant to stick course, and they said that we had been trying to dissuade them, and enough damage has been done. And the stock exchange fell by several, it tumbled significantly. So it was like, now let's get back to the business of dealing with the rest of it. But it is still too early to say whether the agitation is going to, what form it might take, or if it's going to dissipate.
And Doctor, the PTI has accused the government of politically persecuting Khan. From a legal and constitutional perspective, do you think Khan is being unfairly targeted here? How do you see the legitimacy of the charges he faces? He's facing more than 100 corruption charges.
Yes, but judicial systems are also, particularly, when institutionalization of, institutions are not that strong, and there not many checks and balances, and even where they are, we see political will being exerted over them. So there is, but these are cases that he that's part of the political process, and the process of vindictiveness and victimization that occurs. This is nothing unusual.
Dr. Ali, protesters are demanding a number of things. Obviously, the release of Imran Khan is one. Other political prisoners as well. They want a repeal of the constitutional amendments that were made that gave the government more power to pick judges. And they also want February's elections to be recognized as flawed. So I'm wondering, Shehbaz Sharif, unlikely to give in to all, but is there the possibility of compromise on one or two of these issues and demands?
Well, the establishment and the process of on the side of the ruling establishment would be to try to broaden its base. But the broader issue that you brought up earlier, it concerns the civil-military imbalance, in the country, and then the sort of co-option, if you will, of other institutions, including the judiciary, and some resistance from it, and a clash, because these are all jostlings for power, and they occur in different forms. So in an authoritarian sort of post-colonial country like Pakistan, and it's interesting to compare and contrast what's happening in Pakistan to Bangladesh, for instance, where a popular movement did dislodge a recently elected government, but the contours were different. This is the civil-military balance played out differently here. There, Sheikh Hasina Mujibur Rahman's daughter had been in power for years and decimated the population, and she has been thrown out by a popular movement. But here, the youth is disgruntled. There are broader economic issues. The military and its involvement in the political economy of the country. Related concerns, and then how sort of different institutions, and the role of the judiciary has also been complex. If you look at constitutional history in Pakistan, how, the judiciary has interacted with different institutions, including the military. It's not always been a straightforward path.
Right. So, Dr. Ali, if, and that's a big if the Pakistan government does indeed release Imran Khan, is it clear, what the former PM's next steps are going to be? His supporters are there, but they don't actually seem to know what's next.
Yeah, there's not many chances, I think, right now for the government to concede to that demand, especially when it's still in agitational mode. I think they have more wherewithal. I mean, it'll bring more sort of another jolt to Pakistan's public crisis. I mean, inflation, pollution. I mean, there's all the burning of containers and whatnot in Islamabad, and the traffic clogged up, and the general disruption. I mean, but there might be more patience for this, more appetite perhaps for this, lest the situation gets more drastic. So it's tenuous. Currently, it's hard to say, definitively what's going to happen, but it doesn't seem like the establishment's in the mood to just concede and let him out if he's going to be in such a defiant mode.
All right, Dr. Ali, thank you very much for your insight this morning. We'll have to leave it there. Syed Mohammad Ali, non-resident scholar at Middle East Institute.